Joining me now is the anti-Brexit campaigner, Gina Miller. She has launched a fresh legal action to try to stop Boris Johnson suspending Parliament. Welcome to you.
Morning.
In a sense, isn't all of this partly your fault in as much as you used extra parliamentary means to try and stop Brexit when you went to the Supreme Court, you won, but now Mr Johnson is trying to get his way again by using unusual means?
So my court case back in 3 years ago was not to stop Brexit. It never did that.
That was the intent.
No, it was not. The intent was to give Parliament its voice and for MPs to vote on Article 50, which is exactly what they did. Because if the Prime Minister at that time and the Prime Minister again is allowed to use their powers in an illegal manner, that sets a precedent because we don't have a written constitution.
Well, we don't have a written constitution, but there are those people who would say that the people spoke in the referendum. And what your legal challenge did means that now MPs have the final say rather than the people. And you knew perfectly well when you launched it that the majority of MPs were actually thought Brexit was a bad idea. So
if we could not rewrite history, the referendum was advisory, and then that was voted on by the MPs who voted it through, which made it legal.
But saying the referendum was advisory is again a technicality because the Prime Minister of the time said it would be binding.
Yes, but the law matters.
No, I understand the law matters, but all I'm saying is what we've got now is this kind of constitutional Mexican standoff between various people using various mechanisms to try and get their way, and that you're party to that.
No, absolutely not, because this is about the law and it does matter because we don't have that written constitution and precedents are then set. What it then means is that any Prime Minister in the future could decide if they don't like what's going on in Parliament, that they could use their power and prorogue Parliament, shut it down for a length of time. I mean, 5 weeks that they're proposing is the longest we've seen in modern history.
It's 1 week extra than what was being proposed anyway and what's happened every year
it's not quite that
during the party conference season.
Well, it's not quite that straightforward because next week what happens is MPs vote on recess, or just before. So a lot of MPs have been talking about perhaps not rising for conference season because it's such a crucial time, or maybe sitting a couple of days a week.
But so that's breaking with precedent because MPs normally do rise for the party conference season.
But they've also sat when it is times of national emergencies. They've even sat on Saturdays, as they did during the Falklands War.
For one day.
Yeah, but the fact is, until we change what we are a representative democracy. Until that changes, then Parliament cannot be shut down or bypassed.
But it changed when there was a referendum, that's the point.
Or did we change our democracy? I didn't think we did. I thought what we did is
because that's not the normal way we do business, but we decided we're going to have a referendum. The Prime Minister today said it would be binding.
And MPs followed that through. They triggered Article 50. They then also voted for the Withdrawal Act in 2018. So MPs have been going all the way through this. The problem is now...
What's your new challenge about?
Well, the new challenge is to say that, however you look at this, it's not the act of using the prerogative power to prorogue Parliament that we believe is illegal. It's the effects of using it in a manner that the intention is to bypass Parliament, or the effect is to limit their voice. And they are our representatives. And Parliament has expressed three times so far that they're against no deal.
Again,
this is all about no deal.
But again, to a certain extent, you've been outfoxed by Downing Street on this, because when Jacob Rees-Mogg says it's perfectly normal to have a fresh session of Parliament, it is, particularly when two other factors are relevant. One is we've had a change of Prime Minister, and two, as you know, we've had an abnormally long session stretching to 2.5 years, which most people would regard
and I'm not disagreeing with any of that.
Isn't there a need anyway to refresh the direction of the government through a Queen's speech?
Nobody's disputing that. We're not disputing that. I mean, other people, I can only speak to myself and my legal team, we're not disputing that. What we're saying is that this abnormal time of 5 weeks will have the effect of limiting Parliament's ability to pass legislation against no deal, which is what Parliament has expressed, and a growing number of MPs are expressing that they wish to do, to actually ensure that no deal doesn't damage our country. This is not about leaving, this is about no deal.
Yeah, but again, the stated position of the government, as we heard yesterday in the letter to MPs from Boris Johnson, is that his intention is not to get no deal. He wishes to get a deal, and he has created time, or the government has created time within the parliamentary agenda for MPs to approve that deal or not to approve it and have no deal with it within the parliamentary timetable, so MPs aren't being denied a say.
That is actually not true if you look at the actions of what they're proposing, because the timetable as such is that it will hamper MPs. If you look at the Cooper-Letwin amendment, that took 5 days. This, they will only have 4 days, because there is ceremonies and debates that go around the Queen's speech. There are many different views on here.
I understand that, but what you're trying to do is to facilitate something which, again, is politically abnormal, which is non-governmental forces taking control of the parliamentary timetable. I'm saying that the meaningful vote that you secured in the Supreme Court can take place. There is time within the parliamentary timetable before the end of October for that to take place.
Well, there are a growing number of MPs and there are lawyers and different people of different opinion who actually don't believe that's true. They think that there won't be enough time to bring in legislation if that's what MPs choose to do.
There won't be enough time to bring in legislation. That's different from a meaningful vote, which
no, but this is not about...
could be operative in this case as far as approving a deal
is concerned. We can't tell MPs what it is they wish to do. They just need to have the time to be able to explore all the options, because until we have a different sort of system, we are a parliamentary democracy.
No,
exactly. And remember, sovereignty is the thing that everyone banged on about.
Had the government done what Dominic Raab was talking about during the leadership campaign and prorogued so there'd be no chance for Parliament to consider what happens,
that would have been much more straightforward.
That would have been much worse.
Yes.
I think everyone would have agreed.
I think everyone agrees
that.
That
would almost certainly have been a constitutional outrage. But in this case, there is actually that 2-week period, and the MPs can, if there is a fresh offer from the European Union, they could approve that rather than opt for no deal, couldn't they?
Oh, I think that this is all very clever. I'm not disputing that what the government have done is very clever, Mr. Johnson and his advisors. But that is not the point. The point is that using this power, this prorogation that they have, to close down Parliament and limit the time it has to do what it wants, because it may wish to do other things other than debate no deal or to support a withdrawal agreement. I mean, the withdrawal agreement itself took over 665 days to debate.
MPs could have voted not to go on holiday over the summer. They didn't.
Well, they didn't have the opportunity to do that. And they didn't have, at the moment, the Prime Minister is actually demanding that they actually rise for 5 weeks. And that, we believe, is illegal and unconstitutional. And because there are very many different opinions, that is why we would seek a judicial review. There's no guarantee, of course, that we would win or be accepted. We're just approaching the courts to say...
What do you think the timetable would be for that?
Well, it's a very urgent one. We've lodged yesterday. I didn't want to lodge. I mean, this is a whole ridiculous thing. I don't want to be in this position because over the summer, we have had numerous letters from the government, the last at 5 o'clock on Monday, saying under no circumstances would they prorogue and that we didn't have to go to court and it was academic. So they've actually been saying that all over summer. And then, you know, they're sending us that letter at 5 o'clock on Monday whilst they're drafting their press release on prorogation. You know, it doesn't look as the act of a government that's being very straight on anything, actually, at the moment. So when it comes back to the timetable, we've approached the courts. We lodged yesterday. We're seeking to be heard next week because of the 9th of September deadline, and we'll have to wait to see if that happens. If it doesn't, then we don't have permission and there's no case.
And bearing in mind some of the hardline things that have been said from Number 10, even if you were to win, are you sure that would be enough to bring the government to heel?
It's not about bringing the government to heel.
It is. You want the government to do something it doesn't want to do.
Well, it's about the government, however clever they're being, is doing something that's not illegal. And that's what we will be asking the courts. Is this legal? The advice has been given to the Queen. Has the Prime Minister overstepped the powers that he has?
And you believe it is illegal, do you?
We are, my legal team and I feel that the effect of using this power is to shut down Parliament and to limit their voice. And that would be illegal because it is a sovereign Parliament.